All right. So I'm Bonnie. Hello. I am an Angular GDE. I'm a podcast or a panelist on Angular Air. I'm the founder of ngHouston, and most important, I'm the mom of the littlest dev, my child component. Can I get a whoop whoop? Okay, and just a quick note, ngHouston is actually on YouTube, so if you don't have a meetup near you, come and join my meetup, because you can join us on YouTube, and we have a lot going on there. Okay, today I'm talking about the need for speed, Angular performance. I do a lot of consulting. In the past few years, I've been called in to help multiple teams who are struggling with Angular. And Angular, obviously, as you know, can be wicked fast when it's implemented properly, but I've seen some pretty common mistakes that really slow down an application. I know we have some experts in here, so for some of you, this stuff might be common sense, but I've met so many beginners along the way, and every year we have new people beginning with Angular, so there's some stuff in here that's pretty basic and easy. There's some stuff in here that's a little bit more complicated, but I've tried to really keep it where everybody can follow along and understand. And really, what I wanted to cover, and kind of the reason I started this topic in the first place, is because I have seen across different companies, across different teams, some people kind of making the same mistakes, and so I wanted to really clarify those things. Okay, so we're going to talk about measuring performance, build time performance, and runtime performance. So we're going to have three sections. The first, measuring performance and build time performance, are pretty basic. I'm going to move through those somewhat quickly. And then runtime performance will be a little bit more. It says I have 6 minutes left. Is that right? Okay, I'm going to talk really fast. Ready? No, I'm just kidding. Okay, good. Now I have more time. Okay, that was close. I could talk really fast, though. Okay, if we have time at the end, which I think we will, we're going to have a little quiz, and we're going to have prizes. So I want you guys to pay attention, because we will have a quiz at the end, and you can win something. Okay, so first we're going to talk about measuring performance. Like I said, I've been brought in on several projects where they already have a bunch of code written before I get there. And often the very first thing that they ask me to fix is the performance, because the app takes a long time to load, or the page just isn't as responsive as possible. Just an aside, performance, in my opinion, is very much a training issue. Project owners, I'm talking to you. When you get the very best thing that you could possibly do to improve performance really is train your developers. And I want to give a shout out to my friends at ThoughtRam, because they are amazing trainers here in Europe. And so just consider that. Oh, speaking of which, I just talked to Pascal last night. The prize for the first winner of the quiz at the end is a free ticket to Angular ThoughtRam Master Training, which is amazing, because I love their training. So I was really excited to have an awesome prize for you guys. Okay, so where was I? The first thing they asked me to help for is performance, right? And the first thing that I want to do is capture metrics, because managers love actual pictures and data that they can use, and measurable numbers. So we want to see, like, how long does it take to load? When I first started with Angular, I would sit there with my cell phone and actually push the timer and wait to see how long it took for the page to respond. And now we have some built-in things that we can use. So I just want to go over a couple of those. So first, WEBPACK-BUNDLE-ANALYZER. I almost skipped this one, because as of today, it's having a little bit of trouble playing nicely with the latest version of Angular. So it just takes a little bit of tweaking to get it working. You can get it working, but it doesn't. I had to kind of fiddle with it a little bit, right? However, I really believe that this is a good tool. There's currently, I think, an open and active GitHub issue, so they are working on getting it working nicely with the latest versions of Angular. But the reason I like this is because when you run it, you get a live image. It looks kind of like this. You get a live image of your own localhost application, and you can click around in there and see. So the purpose of this particular tool is some of the times teams I've come to consult with, they have like 9 megabytes in their main.js, right? Which should never happen. It should not be that big. So if you have a very large main.js in your application, this will kind of help you see, like, this is taking up a lot of room and it shouldn't be. So that's it's just a kind of a good snapshot. Okay, perfume.js. I actually just met Leonardo in Canada, I think, a couple months ago, and he created this super lightweight NPM package. It shows performance metrics in the console. You could do this without Perfume, but you just have to write the code yourself. So Perfume is just very convenient. What it does is it's basically just going to put a message in the console log that tells you like how long it took for your page to load. The first paint and the first content paint are super helpful. First content paint especially. First paint means there's something on your screen besides just white, right? First content paint is when your actual app starts to show up on the page, and that's really the metric that I really want to measure is first content paint. So Perfume is really easy to use, and you should check it out. It's pretty new. I like it. Okay, next is Lighthouse. A lot of you probably already know about Lighthouse, but maybe you don't. So it's a built-in Chrome Dev tool, and so it was like last week I was preparing for this talk, and I haven't really used Lighthouse a lot, so I just wanted to kind of check it out. Really, it was so easy. Like, it took me such a small amount of time because the audit tab is already in your Chrome DevTools. You don't have to install anything. You don't have to do anything. It's already there. So what you do is you go into your Chrome DevTools and click the audit, and then there's a performance button, and you just click it audit. So what happens is it will go through and measure, and then it will also give you suggestions for improvement, which I love. Which brings us to build time performance. And obviously, Bazel is kind of amazing, but this is just little things that you can do to optimize your build. And again, these are basically lessons learned from a lot of teams that I've worked with and what they're doing wrong. And I try to keep this pretty simple, right? So optimizing your build, there are three things. Ahead of time compilation, which you guys know. How many of you know ahead of time compilation? Or know about ahead of time compilation. Okay, and it's a pretty complex topic, and I'm not going to go into it too much, but I just want to say one thing. When you do ngserve, you can run the prod tag, add that tag at the end, prod, and that's going to let you do ahead of time compilation during development. And in the beginning, when it first came out, that was pretty tricky, right? But now, ahead of time compilation, they try to make it as default as possible because they want everybody using it. It's gonna make you're basically pre-rendering everything, right? So when you get to runtime, it's going to go much faster. It can be a little bit quirky. Like, AOT is solid, right? But there are a few small things that you might see. Like, sometimes when I'm working on an app, if I run the prod flag, I get errors that I wouldn't get without the prod flag. But those errors are going to show up later during runtime, and my testers will find them. So I kind of want to see them so that my testers don't have to create bugs for me. So if I run all the time with the prod flag just kind of by habit, then I'm just going to catch those things a little bit sooner. Okay, and next, let's talk about tree shaking, lazy loading. Okay, these two things, again, the Angular team does all the heavy lifting for you, right? So it's very easy to use tree shaking and lazy loading. And lazy loading, you have to have a little bit of a router, but basically it's all done under the hood for you. However, there's one tricky thing, and this is going away. So right now, this is accurate, but it's going to, there's always moving and changing. The one thing that we need for lazy loading and tree shaking, more modules. And again, this might seem like common sense, but you would be surprised how many companies have hired me to come in and help them after they've written 20,000 lines of code, and it's all in one module. Which is, it seems like common sense, but a lot of people make that mistake, right? You just start writing your thing, right? And then you start writing it. If you're lucky, your app will scale, and you'll have a lot of users, and you'll have a lot of data, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then you have to learn about architecture. And that's actually how I learned about architecture. I made my first Angular app at a big oil and gas company years ago, and they loved it. And it was supposed to be a small little app. It was supposed to be not a big deal, but they loved it. And so next thing you know, I've got all these different departments that want to use my app, and I had more data and more users, and it crawled. When I first made it, it was wicked fast. And then as more people started using it very quickly, because I had some serious problems in my code that I didn't even know about. And so that's what happened was, I made these mistakes, and then as the app grew, it just got slower and slower and slower. And so if we know about these things, then we can avoid that happening, right? So the first thing really is when you have multiple pages, you want those pages to be in multiple modules right now. At some point, they're going to get rid of modules, and they're working on that. But right now, you really want to avoid putting a large application all in one module, because if you want a tree shake and you want a lazy load, you need modules. Okay, so that brings us to runtime performance. Woohoo! This is the fun part. So I have built a demo for you guys, and just to make sure everything goes smoothly on stage, because sometimes things don't go smoothly on stage. So just to make sure everything goes smoothly on stage, I've taken some GIFs and put them in here so that we can actually see the code and we can see what that code's going to behave like. And what I want really is to show you guys some of the common mistakes and then how to fix them, and kind of the before and after to see how fast that renders. And I don't want to get too much into the actual syntax here on stage because I have limited time, but I have put this all in a repo for you guys, bcarson/angular-performance. So you guys can actually see this code, and you're welcome to use it if it helps you, but you don't have to worry too much about the details right now. Okay, so in my example, what I've done, let me see if I can click. No? Oh, there we go. I got to click on this one. Okay, so this is just 12, right? This is too easy for this demo. It's super fast. It's super lightweight, so really too easy. So if we go, oh, I wanted to show you this because what happens, this is just a simple ngFor, right? You guys probably have seen this, you've done this. We're just iterating through items in a collection. But the thing is, when we start to filter, what happens, I put a console log down here inside the filter. So you can see as soon as we start typing, it's going to go through each and every item in the collection for every single keystroke. And right now there are only 12 items in the collection. That's no problem at all. But once we get a larger collection, it is actually going to be a serious problem. Okay, so I wanted to show you guys like the lag. You know what I'm talking about? You know that behavior where sometimes you're clicking around or you're typing in your box and it's lagging and it takes a second for the letters to show up? I wanted to show you that, so I put 1,000 customers in here, and still it's still really fast. Like you scroll down. So the GIF is going to scroll way down, scroll way up to show you there's a lot. There's 1,000 items in this collection, but I couldn't get it to lag because Angular is actually really fast, right? So even with 1,000 items in the collection, it's still very performant. So I had to step it up a little bit. So I put 9,999 customers in there just to show you guys, like, normally, because this particular demo has a very, very simple card, right? It's just a little picture. It's 2 strings on this, it's very simple. But in your actual real world examples, you might have something more complicated in your ngFor, right? So again, this is super simple, but I had to put 9,999 in there because I wanted to see. So, and as you see, as soon as I click in that box, I start typing, but it's going to take a while for the search results to show up. So there, I type in Ryan. Nothing's happening. Okay, that's how long it took to filter through 9,999. Like, that's a lot, right? And normally we're not going to actually show, I mean, maybe. I have seen use cases where we do have a lot of data, so it's really not that outlandish. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to optimize this, because I really wanted to start with an example of something that I'm doing wrong, right, so that I can fix it. The recommendations I'm talking about today are examples, but remember, these concepts can be found all over your application. Like I said, if you bring in an expert after your app is finished and ask them to make it faster, you're going to have a lot of refactoring, because it's not a quick configuration issue. Runtime performance exists all through your code, which is why training is really, really helpful. If you want to understand these concepts, you're naturally going to write faster code, and that's a beautiful thing. So separate input from lists. We're going to go through each one of these one at a time, but we're going to separate the inputs from the lists. We're going to debalance the user input, because remember, it was going through with every single keystroke. So I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to filter your list items in the parent. Definitely recommend on-push change detection. And then the last one is to only paint the visible content, which is a concept that you guys have seen before, but it just got way easier, which I love. Okay, and one easy way to remember this, think about the angular change detection machine like a sports car, not a pickup truck. We don't want to just throw everything on there, and Angular is very fast, but you have to be careful about what you have in change detection. So if you're mindful of that, you can keep everything running very, very quickly. It's meant to be fast and powerful, but it's not meant to hold, the kitchen sink and everything else with it. Okay, so I want to look a little bit at the code. This is the before, right? When I start writing, I just start throwing everything all in one component, all in one file, and I really have to remind myself to break it out. So the first thing on our bullet list was separate the input from the lists. Because the change detection is just firing over and over and over again. Every time that input fires, the whole list gets filtered again. So what we want to do is just pull this into a component and then pull this one into a component. These are very simple components, and all I did was just move them and break them out into smaller pieces. That makes it very easy for me to debounce the user input. There's an RxJS operator called debounce, and it's a great operator, but it requires a callback function, which I didn't love because I got to, put a function inside and pass it in. I didn't like it. So instead, I recommend debounce time, which is the same exact behavior, but all you have to do is pass in, I don't know if you can see this here, you just have to pass in milliseconds. How many milliseconds do you want? Which is super easy. So if you see the pipe debounce time, all I did was pass in 200, which is 200, 300 milliseconds is about right for what you want. You want to wait until your user stops typing and then run your data calls. So usually 200 milliseconds is about right, sometimes 3, depends. But I definitely highly recommend, especially if you have a search input box, you don't want to keep pinging your server for search results until they're done typing. Okay, here's another one. If you're using a pipe in your ngFor to filter a list, you could be iterating through your list over and over and over and over and over again, which is exactly what we saw. So what you want to do, especially once you pull those out, you separate the input from the ngFor, you want to filter your list items in the parent. So this is something that I learned that actually makes a big difference, and now I do it all the time. So I might have like ngFor let user of users, right? And then I put a filter in there, like filter search, and that's how, this is the search filter. So this is where if I put a console log, it's going to show over and over and over and over and over again, right? So instead of that, what I want to do is filter it in the parent and then return that. You see the filter users. Filtered users is what I actually want to put in my HTML, not users. Because when I put it in the HTML, all of that stuff is happening live at runtime, and if I put it back here, it's only going to have to run through that once. So it's going to speed it up. Again, this is how I said, like, your performance is actually sprinkled all through your code. So there's another one, change detection strategy on push. Now that you have your large list separated from your input and filtered in the parent, all you have to do is pass it in as an input. When I started using change detection strategy, I thought I could just put change detection strategy on push in my component, and then I'm done. But I mean, not really, because the change detection strategy, if you're going to do it right, you really want to separate that large list out from your input. So when the input is filtered in the parent, all you're doing is passing in your users, and then your presentation component you don't have to have any logic. It's just showing the users. So if you have that list separated, then you'll want to implement change detection strategy, and it will only iterate through that large list when the filtered input is updated. Okay, so this is the optimated. Let me see if I can click here. This is optimized. We still have 9,999, and I've made the changes, but it's really still not as fast as I wanted it to be, because you can see there's a little bit of lag there when I type in Jess. And this was just a few days ago. Like, I had this concept of what I wanted to show you guys, but I was kind of freaking out because this is really not what I wanted. Like, I want to come up here and show you guys, hey, look how blazing fast it is. And it wasn't blazing fast, even with the optimization. And keep in mind, I have 9,999 items. So I called my friend Mike Brocky. I don't know if you guys know Mike Brocky, but he's amazing. He was one of the core CLI team members. and he's really a great guy. So I was like, hey, Mike, why is this still taking forever? Please help me because I'm going to NGBE and I want to like look cool when I get there, right? And he said the reason it's taking forever is because even though it's optimized, you're still painting 9,000 items and it takes a long time for the DOM to render those. And I was like, oh my goodness, you're right. You know what I need? The brand new shiny virtual scroll, which is amazing. So I implement virtual scroll, and I want to have enough time left for our quiz at the end, so I'm not going to go into this too much, but the main thing I wanted to say is this was very easy to implement the first time. And I mean, very easy for me. I've been doing Angular a long time, right? But basically all I did was wrap it. There's a CDK virtual scroll viewport, and I just wrapped it. That CDK virtual 4 on the third line behaves exactly like ngFor. So I had already written this, right? And all I had to do was add the scroll viewport and then change my ngFor to CDK virtual 4, and that was it. I didn't change any of the other code, but there was one thing that tripped me up a little bit the first time, and it took, you know, a couple minutes to figure this out. Item size is required. So if you're going to use the scroll, you have to put something in item size. And like I said, it took me like 4 or 5 minutes to figure that out the first time. So I'm going to just make it a little bit faster for you guys. So item size is required, but other than that, this is all you need to use the CDK. Well, obviously you have to import it, but that's it. It's very, very easy. Okay, so now with the virtual scroll, I'm going to show, well, first I'm going to show you guys, this is just a GIF to show you the scroll and see how fast. I have done something like that before virtual scroll was available in the CDK, but it required a lot more code, and it wasn't nearly as cool as this one. And then I want to show you, I'm actually really proud of this. This was the end of all the optimization with, I still have 9,999 items in my list, and watch this search. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, and we have exactly enough time left for a quiz. And bear with me while I see if I can figure out how to switch over here. And, all right, there's my GitHub repo. There's my quiz. And I want you guys to get out your cell phones. All right. So you're going to want to go to Kahoot. Kahoot. Is it Sam? Is it Kahoot.io? Oh yeah. Sorry, Kahoot.it, and get in that game pin. And we're just going to give you guys a few minutes. I think. Do I have to press start? Is it ready? Roy. Wow, there we go. There we go. Oh, by the way, if you're in the cinema room, you can play and you can win prizes. I just can't hear you if you hoot and holler. I forgot the... Let me see if I can. There we go. There we go. Got the cute music. Okay. I'm gonna give it just one more minute, and we're gonna start. So let's get everybody in there quickly. I want everybody to play who wants to play, so I don't want to start it while we still have people joining. All right, I think we're good. Okay, here we go. Are you ready? Which flag is used to activate ahead of time compilation with ngserve? Is it --AOT, time, pre-render, or prod? All right. You guys are good. See, y'all, we're paying attention. Okay, who's a raiser? Can I get a whoop whoop? There you go. There you go. All right. And remember, there are prizes. All right, let's move on. We got to keep going. Can you tree shake a component? Oh, that's like neck and neck. Okay, and the right answer is no? Okay, so let's try this again, guys. Oh, a razor. Hoo-hoo. Okay, they're gunning for you. Can you lazy load a component? Did I just say that? Can I do that twice? Oh, yeah. You can't, because remember, you have to break them into modules. And this is a very good explanation of the fact that that is a very common mistake that a lot of people make. Because you can't, you have to break them into modules. Who's Jari? Maybe in the cinema. We have Jari in here? Woohoo! All right. Whoop, sorry. What is the name of the RxJS operator I showed you today? All right. That was awesome, you guys. Who's Sach? All right, good job, Sach. Donovan, is that you? No. Oh. Okay, what's my Twitter handle? It was on the bottom of every single slide, you guys. I know, see, that was kind of a sneaky little trick question there. Good job, yeah. You guys are awesome. All right, aren't ya? It's going to be really hilarious if Dominic wins a ticket to Angular Masterclass because he's the trainer for Angular Masterclass. All right, let's keep going. What is the import required for on-push change detection? This is a little tricky because it was on the slide, but I didn't actually talk about it. Change detection strategy. Sorry, that one was a little hard. I know, I'm sorry, because I meant to talk about it more. I think. All right, it's Dominic. How are you gonna win first prize? You're a nut. All right. Okay. This is just for you guys because we're in Belgium, right? What is the primary export of Belgium in 2018? I didn't know either. I know. They're gonna kill me. I'm so sorry. You guys are in Belgium. I thought you would all know that. I'm so sorry. All right, who's our winner? Arncha! Woohoo! Okay, come on. Can you come up, Arncha? Oh, there's more. Wait. We're not done? Oh! Okay, one more question. Where is the best place to implement change detection? In a parent component? In a child component? In the component that handles user input? Or in a presentation component displaying a large collection? We did talk about this one. I'm sorry, you guys. This one's kind of hard. Because you need to put the on push change detection. Because I used to implement it in every single component, but really you want it to be in the component that carries that big large ngFor. That's really where you want it. They're gonna kill me because this actually was really hard. Normally Samantha helps me with this game and the questions are not as hard, but these were hard. Sorry about that. Aren't ya? One more. Is there one more? Why do I keep saying that? Sorry, I'm sorry. I told you I needed your help. What is the name of the CDK tool that we use to paint only the visible part of the page? The bottom two are tricky because I kept getting them confused. This is a hard one. And I put this one in there because I kept calling it the wrong thing, and one of the other GDs corrected me. Oh, man, you guys got this. All right, all right. Aren't ya? Good job, good job. All right, so aren't ya? Where's aren't ya? Give me a high five. Good job. All right, and you're gonna go talk to Dominic, and he's gonna hook you up with a free ticket to Angular Masterclass, which is amazing. And then Alex and Simone, I want you guys to meet me right outside. We have chocolate for you. Are you guys in here, or are you in the cinema room? All right, come on, get your chocolate. And then, are you Alex? Alex, and then where's Simone? Okay, there's your chocolate. Thank you so much for playing. And let me see if I can switch back over. Where's my... All right, that's my talk. My name is Bonnie. Thank you guys so much.